So let's get to answering a really good question. And this question's like only like maybe a little bit relevant to this topic, but it was so good that I thought we have to answer this question. So this is from Desiree. Hello, Desiree. Where are you? Can I see you? There you are. Um, it's a really great question, and this will apply to a lot of you. And we'll talk about for you, Desiree, and then we'll talk about how this applies in other situations as well. So the question is, hi Glenn. I'm not sure what this question really relates to. Love it, uh, but I wanted to address it soon as it happened to me. So here goes. I'm just starting to notice a slight change in the way my clothes fit me. Yay. When I stood in front of the mirror this morning to do my final check before walking out, I felt good. The interesting thing is, my mind automatically headed into the weight loss arena, such as I just need to keep losing. I wonder what I weigh now. Uh, if I skip some meals, etc. My thoughts were not goal related at all, just about weight loss. My question is, do you have any tips on how to manage this? I don't want to derail all the hard work I'm doing and become weight obsessed again. I assume, I hope, I'm not alone with this. Thanks again, Desiree. So, and maybe we can even share in the chat box who's had this type of experience, been on a bit of a non-dieting approach and something has pulled them, sucked them back into a dieting mentality. Yeah, Wendy said, great question. Taryn said, definitely. So this is one that I knew would apply to a lot of people. Aislinn as well. Me too. You're not alone. Okay. So the terrible thing is I have no good ideas on this. Jokes. What do I think? The first thing I think is, and we're seeing this in the chat box, is that this is absolutely normal. This is a normal and natural part of the process. So that's the first thing. We do sort of grow up in this diet culture, and often our parents and our grandparents grew up in the same diet culture. So the way I say it is that we're swimming in this ocean of thin sanity. So there are going to be a lot of currents that are going to try and pull us back. There are going to be a lot of triggers. So we need to develop what I call dieting resilience. And what dieting resilience is that ability to notice the impulse and notice that you're, moving towards the precipice and look over and go, oh, I know where that leads, and pull yourself back. So the key here is not in not having the impulses, although they often do reduce over time. They may not go away ever. The key is in noticing the impulse and pulling yourself back. Probably as you ingratiate yourself more with the non-diet approach, you will have less things will trigger you. So you'll have less, but I think that for most of us, the choice not to diet is one that we will have to make many times in our lives. So for you, Desiree, it's been the weight loss or the shape change that you've noticed. For another person, it might be, and guys, put in the group anything that's triggered you back in the chat box. It might be another person's weight loss. It might be the new thing that pops up that everything is doing, the new scientifically based program, and you're like, oh, maybe I should do that. It could be like a family member's comment or a doctor's comment pulls you back. Oh, goodness, I've got to lose weight. It could be all sorts of things. Mary said work colleagues or seeing those social media posts, 100%. So there's so much, can be so many things. Even Brigitte put in the Facebook group today that she did a program with her friend and she talked about the whole non-diet approach and they kind of were cool with that. But then when she started getting the sort of advice, hey, eat the rainbow, which may have been totally consistent with the non-diet approach, it was still triggering for her. So she had to kind of sort it out. So it can be heaps and heaps of things. So I'm going to give you a few different ideas that I think can be really helpful, and one or two or three of them will be useful for you. So the first one is to actually just connect with your own past experience. So often these future thoughts and hopes that you have of dieting don't actually match your lived experience. So to just check in with yourself and go, okay, when I get that way, does that support me or does it sabotage me? Um, what I think of sometimes when I think of this, and this is a really weird sort of metaphor, but often like therapists who look at relationships will say when someone, say if someone breaks up with a toxic partner, they'll say, write a list of all of those things that were toxic about that partner or all of those reasons why that ex-partner is no good for you. And so then when you're feeling lonely or when you're in a moment of weakness, you can look at that and go, nope, I know that's not right for me. So you could actually write a list, or you could just check in with your own previous experience and just remind yourself about your past experience. Let me just check the chat box. Actually, I might go through all of these because it looks like there's some really good chat, and I'll come back to it. The second thing to do is to really differentiate your thoughts and feelings, your internal experience, from your actions, what you do with your arms and your legs. So, in these situations, it's really important to acknowledge that our thoughts and feelings don't have to directly relate to our actions. a, a weird metaphor is coming to a weird client story was coming to my mind when I was talking to a client about this. This was years and years ago, and and what we came to this understanding, and I'm sure that you'll be able to think of examples for yourself, is that we all have areas in our lives where we're actually pretty good at managing our impulses. We're actually pretty good at managing our impulses. And I had this conversation with this guy who said, I've got this craving for food and I just cannot stop this impulse. And we talked through how, we all have lots of, out there impulses. And if we gave into all of our impulses, then we'd be in a really bad spot. And he said to me, it's like the penny dropped, and he said, "You're right, Glenn." Because it's like, I don't know what time it was in the morning. So it was like 9:30 in the morning. And he said, because if I had no control out of my impulses, I already would have had sex with a stranger and punched someone at the lights. And I'm like, so we're actually pretty good at managing our impulses. So that would be the thing, is to notice, okay, these thoughts and feelings are totally normal, but I can have all sorts of thoughts and feelings, and that doesn't have to translate to what I do with my arms and my legs and what I put in my mouth. The final thing to look at, and this is what I do with my clients all the time, is to reconnect with your whole person goals, to reconnect with your values. So the mind hates a vacuum. And so if we just make the decision not to do the diet, or and actually, Desiree, for you, I just have one thought on that point too, which was the actions. So for you, it would be you might have the desire to start skipping meals, but the actions of continuing on with whatever the meal structure or the way of eating is that's working for you. That's just a good practical example of that. So if we switch back and go to reconnecting with the whole person goals, your mind hates nothing and it will seek to fill that space. So if here's your mind, here's a very, crude version of your mind, and we take out the dieting thoughts that have been triggered by whatever it is, then if we don't replace it with anything, it creates a vacuum where these dieting thoughts can just come back in. So a really good thing to do then is, once we've sort of unhooked from that dieting mindset, is to actually reconnect with what we are doing. So connect with your whole person goals, connect with your super values, and connect with your SMART goals or your SMART systems. Like, okay, no, this is the plan that's working for me. In your case, Desiree, this is the plan that's created the cue for the dieting mindset, which is kind of what you want. Like, it's like, hey, the weight loss, we're happy with that. That's no problem. So it's like, let's just get back to what was working in a sustainable and balanced and holistic way. That's a bit of a 3-step kind of approach for if you get triggered by some sort of dieting mindset stuff, which will absolutely happen.